She sold the night to pay for her surgery, but the millionaire saved her life and claimed her heart. She stood outside the luxury hotel bar, desperate and broken. The tumor on her spine was stealing her ability to walk, and the $847,000 surgery might as well have cost $1 billion. So Simone made an impossible choice: sell one night to a wealthy stranger to save her life. But when she walked through those doors, she met the wrong man. Julian Crawford wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to care. And he definitely wasn't supposed to offer her everything: the surgery, hope, and a love she never saw coming. Sometimes your darkest moment leads to your greatest miracle. Welcome to Emotional Voyage. I'm so glad you're here to share this journey with me. If this content resonates with you, please hit the like button and subscribe. Your support helps me create even deeper, more meaningful videos for our community. Let's navigate these emotions together. The hotel bar was the kind of place Simone Washington never imagined herself entering. All dark wood and soft amber lighting, where a single glass of wine probably cost more than her weekly grocery budget. She stood outside the entrance for 3 full minutes, her reflection in the polished glass doors showing a woman she barely recognized. 35 years old. A master's degree in social work. A decade of helping families rebuild their lives. And here she was, about to sell the only thing she had left. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Devon, her younger brother. "Sis, there's gotta be another way. Don't do this." But there wasn't another way. She'd exhausted every option over the past 6 weeks since the diagnosis. The tumor pressing against her spine wasn't going to wait for her to figure out a payment plan. Without surgery, she'd lose feeling in her legs within 3 months. The operation cost $847,000. A number so absurd it felt fictional. Simone smoothed down the burgundy dress she'd borrowed from her coworker and pushed through the doors. The arrangement had been made through a discreet website. One night. One wealthy client. Enough money to at least make a down payment on the surgery. She was supposed to meet him at the bar at 9. It was 8:47. Julian Crawford sat in his usual corner booth, trying to focus on work. At 37, he'd built Crawford Development into one of the most successful real estate firms in Savannah. His penthouse overlooked Forsyth Park. His car collection included vehicles he'd forgotten he owned. What he didn't have was anything real. Something made him look up from his phone. She stood near the bar entrance, and everything about her body language screamed that she didn't belong here. Not because she wasn't beautiful, she was stunning, with natural hair pulled back in a low bun, skin that glowed against the deep burgundy of her dress. She was looking around like she was searching for someone. Their eyes met across the room, and Julian felt something shift in his chest. Simone's breath caught. The man watching her from the corner booth wasn't what she'd expected. Tall, dark blonde hair, blue eyes that seemed to see too much. He wore his wealth casually, expensive watch, tailored shirt with sleeves rolled up. He was also far too young. The arrangement had been with someone named R. Crawford. She'd assumed an older man. Before she could process what to do, he stood and walked toward her. "You look lost," he said, his voice warm with a slight southern drawl. "Can I help you find someone?" Simone lifted her chin. "Actually, I'm looking for R. Crawford. I have an appointment." Julian's expression shifted. "I'm Julian Crawford. But I didn't make any appointments tonight. My father is Robert Crawford, though." "R. Crawford." He paused. "What kind of appointment?" "Wrong Crawford." She'd shown up to sell herself to this man's father. "I'm sorry. There's been a mistake. I should wait." Julian gently touched her elbow. "Something's wrong. You're shaking." She was. 6 weeks of impossible choices came crushing down at once. "I need to go." But her legs wouldn't move. Simone felt the room start to spin. Julian caught her before she hit the ground. "I've got you." Have you ever felt trapped between impossible choices? What would you do? When Simone's eyes fluttered open, she was sitting in the corner booth, a glass of water in front of her, and Julian Crawford crouched beside her, his blue eyes filled with worry. "There you are," he said softly. "You gave me a scare." The bar manager hovered nearby, but Julian waved him off. "We're fine. Thank you." Simone tried to stand, but Julian's hand on her shoulder was gentle but firm. "Give yourself a minute. When's the last time you ate?" She couldn't remember. "Yesterday. The day before?" Julian signaled the bartender. "Can we get some food over here? Whatever the kitchen can make, quickly." He turned back to her. "I'm not letting you leave until you tell me what appointment with my father had you scared enough to nearly pass out." Simone closed her eyes. Something about the way he looked at her, without judgment, just genuine concern, made the truth come spilling out. "I'm dying," she said quietly. "Or I will be, in a different way. There's a tumor on my spine. Without surgery, I'll lose the ability to walk. The surgery costs more money than I'll make in 10 years. So I found a website, and I made an arrangement, and I was supposed to meet your father here tonight to sell him a night with me for enough money to make a down payment at the hospital." She opened her eyes, expecting disgust. Instead, Julian's face had gone pale. "My father has been lost since my mother died 3 years ago," he said slowly. "But he wouldn't." He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. "He didn't know, did he? What you were really doing this for?" The website was discreet. Anonymous, mostly. A waiter appeared with a plate of food, grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, bread. Julian pushed it toward her. "Eat. Please." Simone's stomach growled traitorously. She picked up the fork, her hands still trembling slightly. Julian watched her take a few bites before he spoke again. "How much do you need?" "It doesn't matter. I can't." She set down the fork. "This was already the worst idea I've ever had. I'm not taking money from you." "Why not?" "Because I don't know you. Because charity isn't." "It's not charity," Julian interrupted. "It's a loan. Or an investment. You're a social worker, right? You help people." She nodded, confused. "So you provide value to the world. Consider this a business transaction. I pay for your surgery, you pay me back over time. Whatever terms work for you." Simone stared at him. Nobody loans $847,000 to a stranger. "I'm not nobody." He said it without arrogance, just fact. "And you won't be a stranger for long." Something in his tone made her heart skip. "What does that mean?" Julian leaned back, studying her with those too perceptive blue eyes. "It means I want to help you. It means something brought you into this bar tonight, and I don't think it was coincidence. It means..." He paused. "What's your name?" "Simone. Simone Washington." "Simone." He said it like he was testing how it felt. "I'm Julian. And I'm going to help you, whether you like it or not. I don't accept help from strangers who expect something in return." "Smart." He smiled, and it transformed his whole face. "So let's not be strangers. Have dinner with me. Tomorrow night. A real dinner, not..." He gestured at the bar. "Whatever tonight was supposed to be." "You're asking me on a date?" "I'm asking you to let me get to know the woman I'm about to invest in. Would you accept help from a stranger, or does pride matter more than survival? Tell us below." Simone sat in her small apartment the next morning, staring at the business card Julian had pressed into her hand before calling her a car home. Thick cardstock, raised lettering, Julian Crawford, Crawford Development. Her phone rang. Devon's face filled the screen. "Did you do it?" Her brother's voice was tight with worry. "No. Yes. It's complicated." Simone rubbed her temples. "I met his son instead." "His son." She explained the whole night, the mistaken identity, the fainting, Julian's offer. When she finished, Devon was quiet for a long moment. "Sis," This sounds too good to be true. I know. Rich white man wants to give you almost $1 million and just, what? Be your friend. He wants to take me to dinner. Of course he does. Devon sighed. Look, I'm not saying don't explore this, but be careful. Men like that, they think everything's for sale. He wasn't like that. Even as she said it, Simone wondered if she was being naive. But something about Julian had felt genuine. The way he'd caught her, the concern in his eyes, the careful way he'd made sure she ate before discussing anything else. Just promise me you'll be smart about this. When have I ever been anything else? Devon laughed. Fair point. Love you, sis. After they hung up, Simone picked up Julian's card again. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Julian. Car will pick you up at 7 tonight. Wear something comfortable. JC. She should say no. Should tell him thanks but no thanks, figure out another way, protect what was left of her dignity. Instead, she found herself texting back. How did you get my number? You filled out a form on that website. My father's assistant monitors his accounts. I had her pull the information. Too creepy. A little, Simone thought. But also thorough. What if I say no to dinner? Then I show up at your door with takeout until you say yes. I'm very persistent. Despite everything, she smiled. 7 is fine. See you then, Simone. That evening, Julian pulled up outside her apartment complex himself. No driver, just him in a sleek black car that probably cost more than her annual salary. He got out when he saw her, opening the passenger door. You look beautiful, he said simply. Simone had chosen jeans and a soft blue sweater, taking him at his word about comfortable. You said casual. And you're perfect. He waited until she was settled before closing the door, then slid into the driver's seat. Hope you like Italian. Who doesn't like Italian? He grinned. Good answer. They drove through Savannah's historic district, the spring evening warm and golden. Julian pointed out buildings his company had restored, a converted warehouse now housing luxury lofts, a historic hotel brought back from the brink of demolition. You really love this city, Simone observed. It's home. Always has been. He glanced at her. What about you? Born here. Born and raised. My mama used to take me and Devon to Forsyth Park every Sunday after church. Used to. She passed 2 years ago. Cancer. Simone looked out the window. That's partially why this tumor thing feels so unfair. Like I just watched someone die from something growing where it shouldn't, and now it's my turn. Julian reached over and took her hand. The gesture was so natural, so comforting, that Simone didn't pull away. It's not your turn, he said firmly. We're going to fix this. The certainty in his voice made her want to believe him. When was the last time someone's certainty gave you hope? Share your story. The Italian restaurant was tucked away on a quiet street, the kind of place without a sign because the people who needed to know about it already did. Julian led Simone through a garden entrance where string lights hung between old oak trees, their glow reflecting off intimate tables set among the greenery. Julian! An older Italian woman swept toward them, kissing both his cheeks. And who is this beautiful lady? Mrs. Rossi, this is Simone. Simone, this is the best cook in Savannah. They were led to a corner spot beneath a sprawling oak, private and perfect. Simone waited until they were alone before raising an eyebrow. Your usual table? I may have called ahead. Julian looked almost sheepish. Wanted tonight to be special. Why? The question came out softer than she intended. You don't know me. Then let me. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. Tell me something real. Not the medical stuff, not the crisis. Who is Simone Washington when the world isn't falling apart? No one had asked her that in months. Maybe years. She took a sip of water, gathering her thoughts. I'm the person who shows up, she said finally. At my job, for my family. When Devon's wife left him with my nephew Caleb, he's 7, I moved in for 6 months to help. When my mama got sick, I took leave to care for her." She paused. "I'm realizing that sounds depressing." "It sounds loyal. Loving." Julian's blue eyes held hers. "What do you do for yourself?" "I don't know anymore." "What about you?" she asked, deflecting. "Who's Julian Crawford when he's not rescuing women in hotel bars?" He laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "Honestly, I've been asking myself that question for 3 years. Since my mom died, I've just been going through motions. Building buildings, making money, checking boxes." He traced the rim of his wine glass. "My father told me at her funeral that Crawford men don't get real love. We get success instead. I've been proving him right ever since." "That's the saddest thing I've ever heard." "Is it?" Julian met her eyes. "You spend all your time showing up for everyone else. I spend all my time building things that'll outlast me but never really matter. We're both pretty good at avoiding what we actually want." "And what do you want?" The way he looked at her made Simone's breath catch. Like she might be exactly what he wanted. They talked through dinner, about Devon and Caleb, about Julian's restoration projects, about Simone's work reuniting families. The conversation flowed like they'd known each other for years instead of hours. His hand covered hers on the table, thumb brushing across her knuckles. "You're amazing. You know that." Simone's heart was doing things it had no business doing. "You don't know me well enough to say that." "Dance with me." "What?" He stood, still holding her hand. Soft music played from speakers hidden in the trees. "Dance with me, Simone." "There's no dance floor. So we'll make one." He pulled her gently to their feet, into the small space between their table and the garden path. His hand settled on her waist, warm and sure, and Simone let herself be drawn close. They swayed together under the string lights and old oaks. Julian's cheek rested against her temple, and she could feel his heartbeat where her hand pressed against his chest. "I'm still not taking your money," she whispered. "We'll argue about that later." His voice was rough with emotion. "Right now, just be here with me." Have you ever met someone who made you believe in possibilities again? Share below. Julian walked Simone to her door just after 10, the spring night warm and filled with the scent of jasmine from a neighbor's garden. She'd been quiet on the drive home, and he wondered if he'd pushed too hard, moved too fast. "Thank you for tonight," she said, turning to face him on her small porch. "It was unexpected. Perfect." The word came out almost reluctantly, like she didn't want to admit it. "Which is why this can't happen again." Julian felt his stomach drop. "Why not?" "Because I'm not a charity case, and I'm not going to be some project for you to feel good about." Simone crossed her arms, but he could see the conflict in her eyes. "You show up, you offer money, you take me to beautiful dinners. What happens when you get bored? When the novelty of saving someone wears off? You think that's what this is?" "I don't know what this is. That's the problem." She looked away. "I have a tumor pressing on my spine, Julian. In a few weeks, I might not be able to walk. I can't afford to get my heart broken on top of everything else." He stepped closer, careful not to crowd her. "What if I told you I'm terrified too?" That brought her eyes back to his. "Of what?" "Of this. Of you." Julian ran a hand through his hair. "I haven't felt anything real in 3 years, Simone. And then you walked into that bar, and suddenly I can't think about anything else. That scares the hell out of me. We just met yesterday." "I know. Doesn't change it." He reached for her hand, relieved when she didn't pull away. "I'm not asking you to figure everything out tonight. I'm just asking you not to shut me out because you're scared." Simone was quiet for a long moment, her fingers tight around his. "My surgery's in 5 weeks. Even if they agree to do it with a payment plan, which they won't. I've already tried every hospital in 3 states. Let me make some calls. Julian. Not charity. A favor. He squeezed her hand. I restore historic buildings, which means I work with a lot of wealthy people who sit on hospital boards. Let me ask around. No money, just connections. Can you accept that? She searched his face, clearly torn. Finally, she nodded. Just connections. Nothing else. Deal. He smiled. Can I see you tomorrow? I have to work. Lunch. Julian. Coffee. A 5-minute phone call. He was grinning now, couldn't help it. I'm very persistent, remember. Despite herself, Simone laughed. Fine. Coffee. But I'm buying. We'll see about that. She rolled her eyes, but she was smiling as she unlocked her door. Before she could go inside, Julian gently caught her wrist. Simone. She turned back and he stepped closer, giving her every chance to move away. When she didn't, he cupped her face in his hands, his thumb brushing across her cheekbone. I'm going to kiss you now, he said softly. If that's not okay. She rose on her toes and closed the distance between them. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, like they were both afraid of breaking something fragile. Then Simone's hands fisted in his shirt and Julian pulled her closer, and gentle became something else entirely. Something that felt like coming home and falling off a cliff all at once. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Simone's eyes were wide. Oh, she whispered. Yeah. Julian rested his forehead against hers. Oh. This is complicated. Very. I should go inside. Probably. But neither of them moved. Simone pulled back first, her hand lingering on his chest. Good night, Julian. Good night, Simone. He waited until she was inside, until he heard the lock click, before walking back to his car. His phone buzzed as he slid into the driver's seat, a text from his father's assistant. Mr. Crawford Sr. would like to speak with you about last night's situation. Julian stared at the message. He'd almost forgotten about his father's involvement in all this. Tomorrow, he'd deal with that. Tonight, he just wanted to hold on to the feeling of Simone in his arms. When did you know someone was worth fighting for? Tell us your moment below. Julian found his father in the study of the family estate the next morning, surrounded by photographs of his late mother. Robert Crawford looked up, his 69 years showing in the lines around his eyes. She was on that website because of me, his father said without preamble. Julian froze in the doorway. What? My assistant monitors everything. When she saw the appointment, she told me what these websites really are. Robert's hands shook slightly. I canceled it immediately. I thought that was the end of it. Dad, what were you doing on there in the first place? Being a lonely old fool. His father's voice cracked. Your mother's been gone 3 years, and I just wanted, I don't know, to feel something again. I never meant to hurt anyone. Julian sat down across from him. Her name is Simone. She has a tumor on her spine. She needs surgery she can't afford, and she was desperate enough to sell herself to pay for it. Robert's face went gray. God. I'm going to help her. Of course you are. You're better than me. His father looked at the photographs again. Your mother would have liked that. You told me at her funeral that Crawford men don't get real love. I was wrong. Robert met his eyes. We get it, we're just too stubborn or scared to hold on to it. Don't make my mistakes, son. Julian thought about Simone's kiss, the way she'd felt in his arms. I don't plan to. That afternoon, Julian met Simone at a coffee shop near her office. She looked tired, beautiful, and wary all at once. I made some calls, he said, sliding into the seat across from her. Julian. Just listen. Dr. Patricia Okafor at Savannah Memorial. She's one of the best neurosurgeons in the country, and she owes me a favor. I restored her family's historic home last year. He pushed a business card across the table. She'll see you tomorrow. No commitments, just a consultation. Simone stared at the card. What's the catch? No catch. You need a second opinion anyway, right? This one just happens to be free. And after the consultation, when she confirms I need an $847,000 surgery, we figure it out. Together. Julian reached for her hand. I know you're scared. I know you don't want to owe anyone. But Simone, letting people help you isn't weakness. Her eyes filled with tears. What if I can't pay you back? What if you can? He squeezed her fingers. What if you get the surgery, you heal, and you spend the next 40 years helping families and making the world better? Isn't that worth more than money? Why are you doing this? Julian's answer was simple, honest, terrifying. Because in 2 days, you've made me want to be better than I was. Because when I'm with you, I'm not just going through motions anymore. He paused. Because I'm falling for you, and I can't watch you suffer when I have the power to help. Simone's tears spilled over. We barely know each other. Then let's change that. He stood, still holding her hand, and pulled her gently to her feet. Go to the consultation tomorrow. After that, if you want me to walk away, I will. And if I don't... Julian wiped a tear from her cheek. Then we figure out the rest together. Would you let someone help you, even if it meant risking your heart? Share your thoughts below. The consultation with Dr. Okafor changed everything. Simone sat in Julian's car outside the hospital, the folder of test results trembling in her hands. It's worse than they thought, she said, her voice hollow. The tumor's growing faster. I have maybe 3 weeks before permanent damage. Not 6. Julian's jaw clenched. What did she say about the surgery? That she can do it. That she's done hundreds like it. That my prognosis is actually good if we operate soon. Simone laughed, but it came out broken. None of which matters because I still can't afford it. Simone. Don't. She held up a hand. Please don't offer again. I can't think straight when you look at me like that. Like what? Like you actually care. She turned to face him, and the fear in her eyes nearly undid him. This is real now, Julian. In 3 weeks, I might lose everything. My independence, my career, my ability to chase my nephew around the park. And you've known me for 3 days. This isn't your burden. Julian pulled the car over to the curb, put it in park, and turned to her fully. You're right. I've known you for 3 days. And in those 3 days, you've become the first thing I think about when I wake up and the last thing before I sleep. So yes, this is real. Which is exactly why I'm not walking away. Julian. He cupped her face in his hands. Let me help you, please. Not as charity, not as some savior complex. As someone who's falling in love with you and can't stand to watch you fight this alone. Simone's breath caught. You can't love me. Not yet. Watch me. His thumb traced her cheekbone. My whole life, I've built things. Bought things. None of it mattered. But this. This matters, Simone. She closed her eyes, and he felt her lean into his touch. What if something goes wrong? What if the surgery doesn't work, or I can't recover, or... Then we deal with it together. Julian's voice was fierce. But we don't give up before we even try. I don't know how to let someone take care of me. Then learn. With me. Simone opened her eyes, and what he saw there, hope mixed with terror mixed with something that looked a lot like love, made his heart race. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Okay, I'll let you help. But we do this right. A contract, payment terms, everything legal and clear. Her voice strengthened. I'm not your charity case, Julian Crawford. I'm going to pay you back every cent. He smiled. Deal. But I have one condition. What? You let me take you to dinner. And breakfast. And coffee. And anywhere else I can find excuses to see you. His forehead touched hers. Because helping you get better means I get more time with you, and that's all I want. That's not very businesslike. I'm terrible at business when it comes to you. Simone laughed, really laughed, for the first time since the diagnosis. Then she kissed him, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Julian was grinning. Was that in the contract terms? Consider it a signing bonus. But that evening, Julian's phone rang with news that shattered their fragile hope. Dr. Okafor's voice was apologetic but firm. The hospital board reviewed Simone's case. Given the timeline and cost, they need 50% down before they'll schedule the surgery. I'm sorry, Julian. My hands are tied. 50%. $423,500. In 3 weeks. Julian stared out his penthouse window at Forsyth Park below, his mind racing. He had the money, several times over. But Simone had only agreed to a loan with clear terms. If he pushed too hard, she'd refuse everything. His phone buzzed. A text from Simone. Thank you for today. For everything. I'm scared, but I'm not alone anymore. That means more than you know. Julian's chest tightened. 3 weeks to save the woman he was falling in love with. 3 weeks to figure out how to help her without losing her trust. What would you sacrifice for someone you love? Tell us below. Simone knew something was wrong the moment Julian arrived at her apartment that night. His smile didn't reach his eyes, and his shoulders carried a tension she hadn't seen before. What happened? She asked, letting him inside. Julian ran a hand through his hair, that tell she was already learning. The hospital needs 50% down. $423,500. Before they'll schedule the surgery. The number hit her like a physical blow. Simone sat down heavily on her worn couch. 3 weeks to come up with almost $500,000. I have it. Julian crouched in front of her, taking her hands. Simone, I have it right now. We can call Dr. Okafor tonight, schedule everything. No. What? She pulled her hands away, standing up, needing distance. We agreed. A loan with terms I can actually pay back. Julian, I make $52,000 a year. Even with a payment plan, $423,500 is, her voice cracked. It's impossible. It's not impossible. We'll figure out terms that work. In 3 weeks. Simone laughed bitterly. Be realistic. You'd be giving me that money knowing I could never pay it back. That's not a loan. That's charity dressed up to make me feel better. Julian stood, his jaw tight. So what's your alternative? You just give up? Let the tumor win because you're too proud to accept help. That's not fair. None of this is fair. His voice rose, frustration finally breaking through. You have a master's degree and spend your life helping people, but you can't afford to save yourself. I have more money than I'll ever need, and the woman I'm falling in love with won't let me use it to keep her from losing everything. Where's the fairness in any of that? The words hung between them. The woman I'm falling in love with. Simone's eyes filled with tears. You can't love me. We've known each other less than a week. Stop telling me what I can't feel. Julian stepped closer, his voice dropping. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I also know that I've never felt this way about anyone, and I'm watching you slip away because of numbers on a bank statement that mean nothing to me. They mean everything to me. She wiped her eyes angrily. My mama raised me to stand on my own 2 feet. To never owe anyone anything I couldn't pay back. If I take this money from you, you're not taking it. I'm giving it. There's a difference. Not to me. They stared at each other, the impasse heavy between them. Finally, Julian's shoulders slumped. So that's it? You'd rather lose the ability to walk than compromise your pride. The words were harsh, and Simone saw him wince the moment they left his mouth. But the damage was done. "Get out," she whispered. "Simone. Get out." Her voice broke on a sob. "You don't understand. You've never had to understand what it's like to have nothing, to fight for every scrap of dignity. This isn't pride, Julian. It's all I have left." He looked like she'd slapped him. "That's not true. You have." "What? You? For how long? Until you realize I'm too much work? Until the reality of dating someone who might be in a wheelchair becomes inconvenient." She was crying openly now. "I won't be your project. I won't be the broken thing you fix so you can feel good about yourself. Is that really what you think this is?" The hurt in his voice nearly broke her resolve. But Simone was terrified, of the surgery, of the money, of how much she'd started to need him in just a few days. It was easier to push him away now than to fall completely and watch him leave later. "I think you're a good man who wants to help. But I can't be saved, Julian. Not like this." Julian stood there for a long moment, his eyes searching hers. Then he nodded slowly, pulled out his wallet, and placed Dr. Okafor's card on her coffee table. "When you're ready to save yourself," he said quietly, "call her. I'll make sure the money's there, whether you want to see me again or not." He left without another word. Simone collapsed on the couch, her body shaking with sobs. Her phone buzzed, Devon calling, but she couldn't answer. Couldn't explain that she'd just pushed away the only person offering her a lifeline because she was too scared to hold on. Have you ever pushed someone away because accepting their help felt like losing yourself? Share below. 3 days passed. 3 days where Simone felt her legs growing weaker, the numbness creeping up from her toes. 3 days of staring at Dr. Okafor's card on her coffee table. 3 days of not hearing from Julian. She'd meant to push him away. She hadn't meant for it to work so completely. Devon found her on the 4th day, sitting on her couch in the dark, unable to muster the energy to even turn on the lights. "Jesus, sis." He flipped the switch, and she winced at the brightness. "How long have you been like this?" "What day is it?" "Thursday." He sat beside her, his expression shifting from concern to alarm. "Have you eaten?" She couldn't remember. Devon disappeared into her kitchen, and she heard him opening cabinets, muttering. He returned with crackers and peanut butter. "Eat. Now." Simone took the food mechanically. "I messed up." "Yeah, you did." Devon's voice was gentle but firm. "Julian called me." Her head snapped up. "What?" 2 days ago. Said he was worried about you. Asked if I could check on you." Devon leaned back. "He didn't tell me what happened. Just said you two had a fight and that you needed family right now." Fresh tears spilled down Simone's cheeks. "He called you. Also sent money to my account. Said it was for groceries and anything you might need. I tried to send it back. He wouldn't accept it." Devon pulled out his phone, showed her the message. "She won't take help from me. But she needs someone. Please. JC." Simone's chest ached. "I told him terrible things. Want to tell me what happened?" She explained everything, the hospital's demand, Julian's offer, her refusal, the awful things she'd said. When she finished, Devon was quiet for a long moment. "You remember when Mama was dying?" he finally said. Simone nodded. "You took 3 months off work. Unpaid. You used your entire savings to cover her medical bills that insurance wouldn't touch. You sold her house to pay off the rest." Devon took her hand. "I tried to help. You wouldn't let me. That was different." "How?" "I had money saved. I wanted to help. But you said you needed to do it yourself, that it was your responsibility as the oldest." His grip tightened. "Sis, I love you, but you've got this thing where you think needing people makes you weak. It doesn't. It makes you human. What if I take his money and things don't work out between us? What if you don't take it and you can't walk, and you spend the rest of your life wondering if you pushed away something real because you were scared? Simone closed her eyes. I don't know how to do this. Start by calling him. He probably hates me. The man who checks on you through your brother and sends grocery money definitely hates you. Devon rolled his eyes. Call him, Simone. But when she tried Julian's number, it went straight to voicemail. She called 3 times over the next hour. Nothing. Panic set in. She'd pushed him away, said horrible things, and now he was actually gone. I need to see him, she told Devon, trying to stand. Her legs buckled, and her brother caught her. You can barely walk. I don't care. I need. The room spun, and Simone felt herself falling. She woke up in a hospital bed. Devon sat beside her, his face drawn with worry. You collapsed. They're running tests. How long? 6 hours. He squeezed her hand. Simone, your potassium levels are dangerously low. You haven't been eating. The doctor said the stress combined with the tumor. His voice broke. You're running out of time. The door opened. Julian stood in the doorway, his hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it, his eyes red-rimmed. When he saw her awake, the relief on his face was overwhelming. You're here, Simone whispered. Devon called. I was in Atlanta for work. I drove straight through. He moved to her bedside, and she saw his hands shaking. Simone. I'm sorry. The words tumbled out. I'm so sorry. Everything I said, I didn't mean it. I was scared, and I pushed you away and... Julian sat on the edge of her bed, taking her hand carefully, like she might break. I'm sorry too. What I said about pride, that was cruel. It was true. Simone's tears fell freely now. I was choosing pride over my life. Over you. Over any chance at a future. And now... She looked at this man who'd driven 4 hours in the middle of the night because she'd collapsed. Who'd checked on her through her brother even after she'd pushed him away. Who was looking at her like she was precious despite everything. Now I'm choosing us, she whispered. If you still want. Julian kissed her, cutting off the words. It was desperate and gentle and full of relief. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. We're scheduling the surgery. Tomorrow. No more arguments. Okay. And after you recover, we're going to figure out the rest. Together. Together, Simone agreed, finally letting herself believe it. When did you realize that accepting help was the bravest thing you could do? Tell us below. The surgery was scheduled for the following week. Julian sat beside Simone's hospital bed during pre-op, their fingers intertwined, neither willing to let go. I'm terrified, she admitted quietly. Me too. He kissed her knuckles. But Dr. Okafor is the best. And you're the strongest person I know. Julian, if something goes wrong. Nothing's going wrong. But if it does, I need you to know. Her voice caught. These past 2 weeks with you have been the happiest I've been in years. Maybe ever. You made me believe in possibilities again. Julian's eyes glistened. Don't talk like you're saying goodbye. This is just the beginning for us. A nurse appeared in the doorway. It's time, Ms. Washington. Simone's grip on Julian's hand tightened. The fear in her eyes nearly broke him. I'll be right here, he promised. The second you wake up, I'll be here. She nodded, trying to be brave. Julian stood, leaned down, and kissed her softly. I love you, he whispered against her lips. Come back to me. I love you too. The words hung between them, finally spoken, finally real. They wheeled her away, and Julian watched until she disappeared through the surgical doors. Then he collapsed into the waiting room chair, his head in his hands. Devon appeared with coffee an hour later. Any word? Not yet. Surgery's supposed to take 6 hours. They sat together in silence. Julian's father arrived around hour 3, awkward but present. Wanted to be here, Robert said simply. For both of you. Hour 4 brought Dr. Okafor's resident with an update. Everything's progressing well. Dr. Okafor is very pleased. Hour 5 passed in agonizing slowness. Hour 6 came and went. At hour 7, Julian was pacing, his heart racing with worry. Devon had his arm around his nephew Caleb, who'd insisted on coming after school. Finally, Dr. Okafor emerged, still in surgical scrubs. Julian's heart stopped. She was smiling. The surgery was successful, she said, and Julian's knees nearly gave out. We removed the entire tumor. There was more scar tissue than expected, which is why it took longer, but we got it all. Her spine is decompressed, and initial responses look very good. She's okay. Julian's voice cracked. She's going to be fine. She'll need extensive physical therapy, and recovery will take time, but yes, she's going to be fine. Julian sat down hard, overwhelmed with relief. Devon clapped him on the shoulder, grinning through tears. Can I see her? She's in recovery. Give us 30 minutes to get her settled, then you can sit with her. Those 30 minutes felt like hours. But when they finally let him into her room, when he saw Simone's eyes flutter open and find him immediately, when she smiled, weak but real, Julian knew he'd never been more grateful for anything in his life. Hey, she whispered. Hey yourself. He took her hand, brought it to his lips. You did it. We did it. Her fingers squeezed his weakly. Together. Together, he agreed, his heart full. Always. Have you ever watched someone you love fight their biggest battle? How did it change you? Share below. 3 months later, Simone stood without assistance for the first time since surgery. Julian watched from across the physical therapy room, his heart in his throat as she took one shaky step, then another. That's it, her therapist encouraged. 5 more steps to the parallel bars. Sweat beaded on Simone's forehead. Her legs trembled. But she made it, and when she did, she looked at Julian with such fierce triumph that he had to blink back tears. I did it, she breathed. You did it, he confirmed, crossing the room to embrace her carefully. Recovery had been hard, harder than either of them anticipated. There were setbacks and pain and days when Simone cried from frustration. But there were also breakthroughs. Relearning to stand. Taking her first assisted steps. And through it all, Julian was there. He'd moved her into his penthouse after the surgery. Temporarily, she'd insisted, until she could manage stairs again. But her toothbrush had found a permanent spot next to his, her books had colonized his shelves, and neither of them talked about her leaving anymore. I have something to show you, Julian said that evening as they sat on his balcony overlooking Forsyth Park. The summer air was warm, the park below lit by street lamps. He handed her a folder. Inside was a contract, official, legal, detailed payment terms for the surgery costs. 15 years, low interest, manageable monthly amounts based on her salary. You had lawyers draw this up, she said, scanning the pages. I promised you we'd do this right. That's right. Legal, clear, everything you asked for. He paused. There's one clause at the end you should read. Simone flipped to the last page. Her breath caught. In the event of marriage between parties, all outstanding debt shall be forgiven as a wedding gift. She looked up at him, her eyes wide. Julian. He slid from his chair onto one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Simone's hands flew to her mouth. I know we said we'd take things slow, Julian began, his voice shaking slightly. I know you're still recovering. I know it's only been 5 months since we met. But Simone Washington, I have never been more sure of anything in my life. He opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant diamond ring. You taught me what it means to be brave. To fight for what matters. To let people in. Tears streamed down Simone's face. I don't want to be without you. I don't want to wake up in a bed you're not in. I don't want to face a single day without knowing you're mine and I'm yours. His own eyes were wet now. Marry me, please. Let me spend the rest of my life proving that the Crawford curse was just a lie we told ourselves before we found real love." "Yes," Simone whispered. Then louder, laughing through tears. "Yes. Yes, of course yes." Julian slipped the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, then stood and pulled her into his arms. She wrapped herself around him, both of them crying and laughing. "I love you," she said against his neck. "I love you too. So much." He pulled back to look at her. "Does this mean you're okay with the debt forgiveness clause?" Simone laughed. "I guess I'll have to be, fiancé." The word sent warmth through his entire body. Fiancé. Soon-to-be husband. When did you know you'd found your person? What moment made you certain? Share your story below. 6 months later, Simone walked down the aisle of the small chapel in Forsyth Park without assistance. Every step was steady, strong, a testament to months of grueling physical therapy and sheer determination. Devon walked beside her, tears already streaming down his face. "Mama would have loved him," he whispered as they neared the altar. "I know," Simone whispered back, her own eyes finding Julian's. He stood at the altar in a charcoal suit, his father beside him as best man, and the look on his face when he saw her, pure awe, pure love, made her heart soar. She'd chosen a simple ivory dress that moved like water, her natural hair styled in elegant curls with small white flowers woven through. The ceremony was intimate. 50 people who mattered most. Dr. Okafor sat in the third row, beaming. Mrs. Rossi from the Italian restaurant dabbed at her eyes. Caleb served as ring-bearer, taking his job with 7-year-old seriousness. When Devon placed her hand in Julian's, he squeezed gently. "You look breathtaking," Julian murmured. "You're not so bad yourself." The officiant smiled. "We're gathered here today to witness the union of two people who found each other in the most unexpected way. Julian and Simone have chosen to write their own vows." "Julian." He took both her hands, his blue eyes locked on hers. "Simone, 5 months ago you walked into a hotel bar and changed my entire life. You taught me that real wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, it's measured in courage, in sacrifice, in the strength to let someone love you even when you're scared." His voice thickened with emotion. "You broke the Crawford curse just by being exactly who you are. I promise to spend every day proving I'm worthy of you. To show up, always. To be your partner in everything. To love you fiercely and gently and completely, for the rest of my life." Simone was crying freely now. She squeezed his hands, finding her voice. "Julian, you saved my life. Not just with surgery or money, but by seeing me when I felt invisible. By refusing to let me face my darkest moment alone. You taught me that accepting help isn't weakness, it's trust. That letting someone in isn't losing yourself, it's finding yourself." She smiled through her tears. "I promise to let you love me. To be brave with you. To build a life where we both show up, where we both fight for what matters. I promise to love you with everything I am, for all my days." "By the power vested in me," the officiant said, his own voice emotional, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. Julian, you may kiss your bride." Julian cupped her face in his hands, thumbs brushing away her tears, and kissed her softly. The chapel erupted in applause and cheers. When they pulled apart, both grinning, Simone felt a completeness she'd never known existed. The reception was held in the garden where they'd had their first date, under the same oak trees and string lights. As they swayed together for their first dance, Simone rested her head on Julian's chest. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For not giving up on me. For fighting for us even when I was too scared to fight for myself." Julian pulled back to look at her, his expression tender. "You fought harder than anyone I've ever known. I just had the privilege of fighting beside you." Later, as the sun set and their guests mingled, Robert Crawford approached them. Julian's father looked healthier than he had in years, the grief finally lifting. "Your mother would have adored her," Robert told Julian, glancing at Simone who was laughing with Devon across the garden. "And she would have been so proud of the man you've become." Thanks, Dad. Robert clapped his shoulder. Turns out Crawford men can have it all. We just needed the right women to show us how. As darkness fell and fireflies began to drift through the garden, Julian pulled Simone back onto the dance floor. She went willingly, her body strong and whole, her heart full. "What are you thinking?" he asked. Simone looked up at her husband, and smiled. "That I came to that hotel bar thinking I was selling my last night of dignity. Instead, I found my whole future." "Best business transaction I ever made," Julian teased. She laughed and kissed him, surrounded by lights and love and the promise of all their tomorrows. Because sometimes the worst night of your life is actually the beginning of your greatest love story. The end. What moment in this story touched your heart most? And have you ever experienced a blessing that came disguised as your darkest hour? We'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Share this if you believe in second chances and love that heals.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. It truly means a lot to me. If this video touched your heart or resonated with you in any way, please show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to Emotional Voyage. Your support helps us reach more souls on this journey. Until next time, take care of your heart,